Good Morning Market team, audience. We have a special guest for you. I think that this episode will be especially sweet in a unique way. We've gotten Leopold's on here, but now we're getting on a guest that is a unique guest from what you're used to hearing. We're going to talk about a unique topic, and that's why I have Garrett Clark with me today. Let me tell you a little bit about this gentleman. He's a civil engineer by education, lean practitioner by profession, and visionary innovator by passion. Garrett Clark, who's with us today, energizes people and businesses by envisioning a path forward with innovative ideas and solutions that positively impact communities. Who is this guy? Well, he's the founder visionary behind the dessert experience, Rolling Monkey Handcrafted Ice Cream. You can find them in Statesboro, Georgia. He's also the founder of Inspired Solutions Consulting. It's a corporate culture architect focusing on meaningful and measurable impact. He's very involved in the business economy over there in Bullock. He's an advisor, a leader through the Statesboro Bullock County Chamber of Commerce. He's on the board of directors there. He's also very involved with Georgia Southern through their business innovation group. Garrett is committed to utilizing his strengths of strategic design, complex problem solving, and leadership methodology to envision world-class solutions and sparking innovations. Garrett, thank you for joining us today on Good Morning Market. How you doing?
Doing good, Philip. Glad to be here.
No, I'm really excited to get into it. So for some pretext for our audience, I met Garrett at a really great conference event in Savannah towards the beginning of the year, the Grit Conference, which was put together by Creative Coast Savannah. Did I get that right? I'm not. I'm okay.
Yeah,
I think Creative Coast. Yeah, Creative Coast in Savannah. We did a 2-day mini conference. Met Garrett, had some good conversation. I actually got to go experience rolling ice cream. I don't get to go out to Statesboro all the time, but Hail Southern, Georgia Southern's my alma mater, and got to talk with Garrett about some of his business philosophy and his background. And it's just perfect to bring this guy in, to bring you in, Garrett, to talk about kind of the deeper things, the more core things, the heart and the deepest part of the mind of an organization, which is a group of people and a living and dying entity. We talk a lot on this podcast, as you know, about strategy and taking advantage of things outside of our control. But there's a really cool topic we're going to talk about today when it comes to connecting the core of what an organization is into that communication to a community at large or a target market. So we're going to get into some very deep waters that I think people will find quite profound and could be very helpful to their long-term success as an organization. But I first got to ask you, I love ice cream, and I see the Rolling Monkey brand. Rolling Monkey is kind of a unique name. We're talking about brands and mission behind brands, but first, let's just ask you how you came up with Rolling Monkey as the name of your ice cream place.
Yeah, so initially the company was founded as Cold Rolled Creamery.
Okay.
And that was our son's initials, Connor Riley Clark.
Hey, okay.
But really, after we sat on the name for a while, we thought that it was a little bland. It kind of felt flat. And we're fans of, let's say, Funky Brunch, Trailer Park there in Savannah.
Yep.
I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yes.
And those to us were very, they were unique. We remembered them. They kind of pulled us. There was something characteristic about them.
They're more eccentric and eclectic, which creates a novelty factor that will make it a little bit easier to remember, perhaps.
Very well said.
Yeah.
So that's really what we were looking for, something along the lines of that. And so we went back to the drawing board, but we really wanted to continue to incorporate Connor's name into it. But it became pretty difficult with trying to get that unique, eclectic punch to it. Mm-hmm. So we ended up going into a nickname. And so Connor's nickname was Monkey Man as a kid. So he had, instead of a stuffed bear, he had a stuffed monkey. And we always used to get in trouble by my wife. We'd be monkey around every time we go out, and whether it's hiding behind aisles in Walmart and doing monkey calls and just quite literally monkeying around and acting a fool. But really that Monkey Man name is what then landed into the Rolling Monkey. So as you can assume, rolling ice cream, Monkey Man, put them together, Rolling Monkey, and the three of us were sitting on the couch and it just landed, and we're like, that's it. So yeah, a little bit weird, a little bit unique, but that was kind of the intention. And also there is some meaning and depth behind that.
And I love that. And it's funny. It takes me back and harkens me back to early 2020 when I really like will just, it's a gut wrenching experience, and you feel like so much is riding on it when you've got your new business dream and you need to name that dream. And it's just like, there's so many things that you can go down the rabbit hole of considerations and that goes into a name and second guessing yourself and whatnot. So that is really cool though, that y'all came to Rolling Monkey. I think it's great. And I don't want to take it for granted. I've experienced the Rolling Monkey store, shop, ice cream place in Statesboro as a really unique experience. Like, there are some great ice cream places out there, but this is one of the most unique dessert experiences I've ever experienced, not only from the product itself, the taste, the texture, the presentation, the way it's created before you. Could you quickly just summarize, if someone were to be able to go and taste Rolling Monkey, what is Rolling Monkey and what makes it unique from other ice cream establishments that they may be more familiar with?
Yeah, so our three uniques, first, it's going to be our culture, truly a genuine culture. So this is really our passion, and we'll get into the depth of that kind of. My wife and I really pursue this people development concept, but genuine engagement. So similar to Chick-fil-A, my pleasure, but there you feel it, and it can't so much be named, but it's the essence and the genuine sense felt that we intentionally try to cultivate there, and I would say do cultivate based on the testimony. So we're very proud of that, and work very hard to make that first and foremost the service that we provide. Then second is the atmosphere. So the atmosphere is very unique, kind of pulled from a piece of, let's say, Imagineering with Walt, with Disneyland, Disney World. It's very much an immersive experience that you step into. And the intentionality behind that design is to bring you out of, let's say, the future, out of the past, not overwhelmed, not worried, but stepping into the present where life is. And that's where you can actually receive that genuine service and hospitality and genuine engagement. And then from there, it's the ice cream. It's a super premium ice cream, and it's handcrafted. So it's truly an artisan experience with the best, highest premium ice cream that money can buy. And all of that together is really what makes that experience. So people, atmosphere, super premium ice cream, and it yields unforgettable experience.
Yeah, I would second that, ladies and gentlemen. If you get to go to Rolling Monkey and try their ice cream, ice cream, just for everybody to know, because I know you're dying to know, ice cream is my favorite dessert. I'm not an ice cream snob. I will go eat the 2-gallon basic kids party ice cream that we all grew up on, the Neapolitan. But I also am a discerning ice cream taster, and I can tell the difference between ice cream textures and quality. The Rolling Monkey experience, all the way from the way it tastes once it's in my hands to getting to watch them interact with me and watch the artisans make it, and like you said, the premium ingredients, the locally sourced, it really is a very nice, wonderful experience. I was going to ask you, okay, what has been the business success from those three differentiators that you've experienced? Like, how is the business doing just in general here in 2023?
Yeah, it's doing great. Really, we've continuously received, I guess, from a recognition perspective, really done a lot, from culture, from placemaking, from the product, from a recent one. We're pretty excited that our mascot Romo just beat out Gus for, I forget the exact name on that, but so a series of different accolades, whether it's the Fabulous magazine, Statesboro Herald, those kind of, I guess, central recognitions that I could point to, but really the thing that determines success for us is testimonies. So Megan and I, which is my wife and co-founder, we call that our gold, and it's not the monetary aspect. We'll get into the philosophy of this, that the money exchange is a byproduct of what we're really oriented and focused on, which is the testimony of not only our customers here in Statesboro and or the community, but really as leaders, it is our employees, because we believe that if we invest in them and they're inspired, then in essence, they will inspire the community. And we've really found that to be true. And when people are inspired, that's word of mouth. They're just talking.
Yep.
And so we've generated, I guess, an organic flywheel in that sense. And there's so many great successes, but really, it's receiving the messages of, I was in a place before where I wasn't growing, where I didn't have hope, and now I'm participating in this culture, and I have hope, and I'm growing, and I feel like I'm on top of the world, and I thank you for it. And those are those testimonies are the things that get us through the tough, challenging founder dynamics that most business owners deal with.
Yeah, no, and absolutely. That's really pleasing to hear, especially y'all have come through the ugly aspects of COVID, and obviously you being a retail storefront, that obviously must have been quite challenging. Y'all have now become a cultural staple. You're very influential in the business community, and the business seems like it's been successful. You'll have a big social media following as well, a very engaged fan base. And you mentioned going into that, the rolling monkey, you got the mascot, you've got the social media. You'll have a very successful brand, especially considering your age and the market in which y'all operate. And it's like something that's like a dessert thing, but y'all just created a powerful brand that I think what I'm saying is I think that y'all punch above your weight in age for how long the organization has been out. But you referenced, some of your inspirations that goes into your branding, goes into the deepest part of your organization. You mentioned Disney at one point in time. You mentioned Chick-fil-A. There are certain brands that mean more. When we look at the most valuable brands of the world, people will just understand. When you see Coca-Cola, it's not just a carbonated, dark, sugary beverage. When you see a brand like Apple, it's not just a piece of technology. When you see Disney, it's not just a theme park and entertainment corporation. Chick-fil-A, it's not just a place where you can get a chicken sandwich. Some of these brands just mean more. And it really does factor into everything in terms of the relationship, the perception, the experience with a business organization. Can you explain why these most famous brands, why are they so powerful? As the first part of my question, why do you think that they are just different?
Yeah, I think you touched on it a lot there, and meaning. So significance and meaning have a strong correlation. And I think for me, when you look at the commonality of those different brands, kind of the through line that runs through them are the essence of the founding. It really is a visionary type leader that knows how to build truly something to participate in. And that symbol, whether it's the brand, whether it's the colors that align with the brand, all of these things are part of the culture. It's a part of a participation in something. And so when we drink that Coca-Cola, when we have the option of the many other options, a lot of time it is the imagery and the story that is behind that. And so drinking that one drink, even though founders can have passed many years ago, you're still participating in that legacy. And I really think it's in the origins of the founding inspiration and the founders who are able to cultivate not only a vision, but oriented around particular values that then bring people in to make that vision a reality. And also that have maybe Steve, so we mentioned Apple, so Jobs with very fluent articulation, a certain language that he could bring. But then Truett with Chick-fil-A, I would say very much a tried and true mission, which very servant leadership. And that to me is probably one of the best foundational pillars and essences of which can be baked into the DNA of the company. Because I think there, in essence, what I'm trying to say is, if you can imagine the development of a company, the origins of it's like a DNA. And so as it scales out, if there's, and I hate to say this, but like an imperfection in the seed, it can fall apart. But I think those founders really got things right from the beginning. And we can get into the emergence component as well as the influence from maybe top down, more of a spiritual component. But I think all of those together really, that's the space that I move into when I think about why those really make such a meaningful impact that yield to this power.
It's great that you bring that up, because I love your point that even like a brand like, for example, Coca-Cola is as an organization and a product that's over 100 years old, right? And it has a very interesting backstory. I've actually been able to go to the world of Coca-Cola, and they go through a lot of the history of the organization and the beverages. But even today, in 2023, if you go to a convenience store or to the grocery store and you get a Coca-Cola, be it the brand, the product, and then kind of the whole thing encapsulated when you see one of the commercials, when you go to a ballpark and you have a Coca-Cola, the reason that it's just a little different than all the other sodas that come and go over a 100-year period, that you are still getting a piece of, and there's still those semblances, even when brands inevitably do kind of veer off the path that the founder set. I think that organizations like Disney are doing that in some respects. But you still, when you go to Disney World, when you watch a Disney classic movie, you're getting a piece of what Walt Disney almost 100 years ago was really starting to envision. And so I look at other founders, like, for example, many would know one of our previous guests, Jesse Cole. He leans a lot on P.T. Barnum and Walt Disney as inspiration. And then when he went to go do the Savannah Bananas, that helped him set his strategic vision and his dream that you experience whenever you go to a Savannah Bananas game or you purchase merchandise. So in that respect, you obviously have really thought and felt this through when you went to go create, for example, Rolling Monkey. How have you tried to do similar things in terms of creating a dream and a vision and working really hard to make that dream and vision come to life and for people to experience it every time they come through your doors?
Yeah, I think really it's just clear on the mission. So the vision, of course, is this inspiring narrative or vision that can be set forth, and that's with team meetings where our team is participating, whether it's in a daily huddle to a monthly team meeting where the whole collective team is coming together with at all levels. And from there, it really comes down to the daily mission that we're crystal clear on what we're here to do. We're here at the daily level, what it embodied at all levels. Our motto is create to inspire. And so there, what you have is, whether we're creating documents on the back end or we're creating ice cream on a canvas right here in front of you, the intention is to do it in a manner that inspires, that brings life. And yeah, that to me is a big part of how to bring it together. But then also, I guess, the language, what we just spoke about previously, all of these other elements coming in together. And I think there really is an intentionality behind it. But I will say, initially, when we developed the venture, it was more of this inspiration and this walk, like as though we were being led. So my faith is Christianity, and so there was a lot of prayer and walking through the challenges of. Some of the entrepreneurs will be familiar with the J curve, and in that J curve is what is known as the valley of death. So the entrepreneur will take on some debt to go through that, and then the timelines to meet the cash flows throughout the venture. And so in that, there's a faith walk, and a lot of what Rolling Monkey developed in late 2018 that really kind of, I would say, inspired the community. I mean, there was continuous lines down, multiple stores down, out wrapped around the shopping center there, and that lasted for beyond the typical honeymoon period. And I think the reason for that was this truly inspired nature that we were in. And as the years progressed, with the intention to scale, I then applied a very left brain analytical logic to how do I reverse engineer this thing that was birthed, and how do we do it in an integral way to where it'll effectively scale if we choose to scale corporate, franchise, whatever it may be, or just simply pop the hood on what made it successful and do it through Inspired Solutions Consulting, whatever way that we might share how this thing came together. What I find as I go back and look at it and really dissect it from a logical perspective, it really does start with that vision, and then the mission and the values, which then affect the attitudes of the people that we're looking to attract, and that have the same characteristics and values that we do, that participate in that and speak the same language and produce the same artifacts, which it can be the documents, it can be the ice cream. Those are the artifacts. And all of these different elements make up culture, and culture seems to be this very abstract thing all the way down to the day-to-day embodiment of the business. And it's everything in between, from the theology to the philosophy to the science to the policy to the business. It's just, it's all of that. And
Yeah.
all of that has to be understood, maybe not explicitly, maybe not consciously. I think it can definitely be a sense felt thing that is created that potentially could be more organic and more beautiful. But with that, does that scale? And that's where that balance has to come into play, that if you're attempting to scale and replicate it, that's where you then have to be intentional with defining it and looking at how it's communicated. So there's a lot involved, but yeah, it's exciting.
No, and here's the thing is, and I'll go ahead and speak to the person who's might be perplexed or even like a skeptic here is like, dude, you're making ice cream, chill. but that's the thing is Rolling Monkey never set out to be, you never set out to create a culture space where we're just going to make some ice cream and sell it. And by the way, if you had, you would not have experienced the success you do. What Garrett is recalling for us and revisiting that for us is the journey of a true vision and a true dream, and then working through that J curve of the valleys and the struggles, because you really are trying to do something more, and then bringing in your analytics to bolster the philosophical dream beginning into making it what it is continuously becoming now in real time. And by the way, that's what we're getting into today, ladies and gentlemen, is the Chick-fil-A's of the world and the Coca-Colas of the world and the Apples of the world and the Disneys of the world don't all think uniformly. There's all different expressions of this, but there truly is something deeper than, which is why even down to the brand, when you see the Coca-Cola logo, when you see the apple on the back of a piece of technology, it represents something much more. And like, he even got into the theology, but it was one time in church, as we went through an exercise and during the Sunday sermon, it's like, hey, tell me if you recognize this logo, this logo, this logo. And then he pulled out this thing, which is stuck right now. He pulled out this little cross looking thing. Is like, this is the most recognized logo symbol in the world. But what does it do is people will see the cross and they know that it represents something much, much, much deeper philosophically and theologically. Maybe we're not wanting to go that deep as business organizations, but the business organizations that do have something foundational, deeper, and powerful, then that's why, by their very nature, they have an unfair advantage, is what I'm saying, when it comes to marketing, communications, brand reputation, customer experience, is because they want to step deeper on the front end, like Garrett recalled, which is why you see them years later on, they have, multi-billion-dollar valuations in their brand. So anyways, all that to say, I set the stage. I want to go through some terms for you that you mentioned and that all of our folks have heard. They may not think of it in the same terms that you do. So I wanted you to do some kind of like your own personal definitions of these terms. What does mission mean to you as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so mission to me is closer related to a goal. Not exactly a goal. A goal has a very clear end to it. A mission can be a continuous thing, but I like to think of it, you can have a quarterly mission, you can have a daily mission, a monthly mission, a 5-year mission that ultimately leads you to the vision. So to me, the vision is this more abstract thing. It's kind of the sun in the distance, that the mission is the daily rowing to that horizon.
Okay. Let me ask you the same so you already answered. I was going to ask you about vision. So you've already defined mission and then also vision. Something that should come as a result of mission and vision would be company values. How do you, as an entrepreneur with a mission and the vision, define company values?
So I'll bring the values into the same kind of framework here. I would say that the values are like a lighthouse. So it's these guides that keep us on the track that will lead us to that end goal, to that end vision. And so values, so things that we value are things that grab our attention, that we orient to, that we celebrate. And so those values are very critical, because in essence, what they do is they bind. They bind whatever team is coming together to execute the mission or missions to bring the vision to life. But the values are the overlapping commonalities that bring people's attention to celebration of the wins of the mission to build the vision.
Yes. And then perfect. And then once again, that's why I think this conversation is so cool, is I'm almost trying to be a bridge to many people that are in my audience that I meet in the business community from what you're pitching to how I think it sells is, even if from a pragmatic perspective, that I can make an appeal for us to all introspect and check ourselves on our mission, our vision, our company values. Why? Because many, as you know, many businesses are like, listen, I just want to work for myself. I want to make a cool product, or I have a really good competence in which I can provide a service and I get paid for it. But if you truly are that dreamer, when you actually take the time to think through, philosophize through, and then kind of analytically concrete, establish a mission, a vision, company values, which guide you into achievement of your vision through the mission, it does make a very big difference when it comes to marketing your business. Do you want people to buy what you're selling? They need to fully understand what truly makes you unique, and they understand why, not only why you want to exist, but why you actually should exist, and why the people to whom you're marketing, they want you to exist because they understand the mission from every way in which they interact with your brand. So I think you've pretty much laid out for us why mission, vision, values are important. Why, in your perspective and in your experience as an entrepreneur, why are they powerful and important in marketing your business?
So I think most of your audience will be familiar with Simon Sinek. And so he says, start with why. And I think they are fundamentally, that's what we're talking about. So the why is the driver of the individual cultivating whatever value is there. And we know that people buy with emotion, not with logic. Now, maybe on the bell curve, there's a couple of engineers out there who are very analytical and saying, okay, here is the clear pro. I am purchasing with logic.
Right. We're not computers. We definitely have logic and reasoning in there, but a lot of times, as the old joke goes, is we'll make decisions emotionally and then justify them rationally.
And that was the next point I was going to get to. Even that engineer probably is some emotional, deeper lying trigger that the rationalization is them convincing that this is why I'm buying. So it really does come to forming the tribe, so to speak, because you're bringing in such a world with so many options that exist. Why do I go spend my money, my time and attention with you, which is the most important thing that we have? And I would say it goes back to Simon Sinek's frameworks of the why, and then it gets into the how, and then the what. So it is the binding component, and it is a deeper form of communication than most people were consciously aware of. So these deeper systems, if you want to look at it from a that perspective, or another perspective, but these things unite us and pull us together, whether it's meant to be or kind of from an evolutionary perspective. The system is driving towards something that is unifying towards a community, towards a culture, and that culture can be outside of the entity, the body, the hierarchy, the brand itself. Is the participation with that brand, and then of course get into frequencies of that with LTV and all that stuff. But it again, so much just comes back to who are you, and getting clear on that, because it's going to be discovered. If you're only about that dollar, you're going to attract people who are only about that dollar, and the dollar then shifts, and if the dollar's more here, people are going to move to that, and then it becomes a very tough game, because things fragment very quickly, because the essence of what the development and the value stream is creating is shallow by definition. And so the deeper that you go, so if we look at the what kind of surface level up here, and then we get, if we're using Simon Sinek's model of what being this outside ring, it's a spherical, and then we'll bring it into the how, but then ultimately at the root is the why, the core of who you are. It's an archetype, and the beauty of what you showed with the symbolism of the cross is Christ was the archetype of archetypes, and so it is this thing that is so deep within us. And those founders such as Walt and Truett, I believe they really touched on an archetypal nature, and they were archetypes in themselves. And so the more that you can be authentic with who you are, do that deep work to really say, what do I value, and what do I want to create of value that, of course, will have that exchange as a byproduct. But I think the thing that the audience should really hear here is that deep intentional work of getting clear on who you are. the return on that investment will be there, because you have a much greater potential to break through the shallow market that everyone dies in, and to
Yes.
really get deeper into something that attracts your tribe, that
Right.
people will participate with out, even if there is something cheaper here, even if there is
Yes.
something more sexy here.
Yep.
People want to remain consistent and a ritual participation with what value you're creating.
Yep. And what I was hearing, and one thing I wanted to add on to your eloquent points is, especially in America, when the consumer, we're just so blessed with so much discretionary income, and we have so many options in every single market. This is what I'm getting at with my audience, and this is me speaking to myself as well, by the way, is how do we become successful and get people to latch on to what we're doing? Obviously, there's companies like Walmart and Amazon where you just have the economies of scale and you can just win with straight price. So like you said, there are some people who are, it's straight just a numbers game. So when it comes to quantities of scale and lowest price, fastest delivery, the logistics chain, those companies can win with that. Most of us have to differentiate ourselves in the market through some kind of premium value. But here's the thing is, once again, there's so many options. If your only claim to fame is, well, I'm a little bit better at making this widget, or I'm a little bit faster, or a little bit this in my wrinkle with delivering this service, that's not really enough. And if you really think about it in and of itself, if you were just to reduce everything to like a product, does Coca-Cola really taste that much better than Pepsi? Is a singular ride that you're going to wait for 2 hours at Walt Disney, is it really that much better than Universal Studios or Six Flags? The answer is no. If you look at Apple, I'm going to call it like it is. Like, listen, like the iPhone is awesome, but all of you iPhone, worshipers out there, the iPhone in of itself is not leagues above Android. And yet, because of the mission and the way they market themselves and their mission, that's where the oomph comes in, where these people have a staying power and they get to charge premium rates, and people keep on coming back and back and back and back again. It's the same thing. Chick-fil-A's chicken sandwich is not much better than Popeyes, and Popeyes went right at them with their own chicken sandwich. They're both great chicken sandwiches, but there's a reason why Chick-fil-A will always be more successful than Popeyes, and it's not the actual chicken recipe. There's something a little more, and you and I even had a quick conversation about Steve Jobs gave a presentation about Nike and how Nike's so good at selling cheap, ubiquitous shoes that are made in China. Why? It's because they have a mission and they have a brand around that mission that is more than just some cheap shoes made in China. So I want to talk to you about, okay, we've talked about the why, we've talked about the what. I want to ask Garrett some of the how we actually start down this road on mission-driven marketing. First, let's get a quick message from today's episode sponsor, Soul Insights.
This episode is sponsored by Soul Insights. Is your business looking to hit the next level of growth? For many businesses, they know they need to spend more on marketing, but don't want to simply shoot in the dark. They want a smart, data-driven path to solid growth. If this is you, then Soul Insights can help you identify, attract, and retain ideal customers. Soul Insights is a strategic marketing agency which helps small and mid-sized businesses understand their best customers, who they are, their shopping behaviors, and acquire new best customers based on that data. And it's all measured and tracked to ensure you get more profit bang for your marketing buck. Head to soulinsights.com right now and take the 90-second quiz to find your path to the next level.
Garrett, we've covered a lot of ground. We went deep down the rabbit hole, and that's exactly what I wanted to do with this conversation. I hope that people have been tracking. It's probably going to be that kind of episode where you might need to go back and listen to certain pieces and take notes for when you're looking at your company vision and dream, and then how that results. Now let's go into okay, we understand that. We've been introspective. We've really gone and revisited the dream, the mission, the vision, the company values. All right, got it. All right, and we understand how it is important to tie that into the marketing. Now let's talk about how we actually start to get there. How should the executive suite, so owner, VP of finance, whomever, the COO, how should the executive suite market the mission?
There, it would first be really getting through with, as the leader, do you believe in the mission? So if it's an existing entity, really finding, say it's a shit mission. What are the diamonds in that rough? identify those, extract those, and then build a narrative, a story around those that not only inspires you, but can inspire your team. Because as the leader that is at the helm of the ship, you're responsible for that abstract, more distant vision. And from there, you have to be able to share it in an inspiring way that people are going to want to show up and intrinsically be motivated by. And so as that executive tier, that let's say higher, or if we're looking at servant leadership model, we'll invert the hierarchy and we'll call it the servant. So those who we serve rest on our shoulders. And so it's our responsibility to do this deep work down here and to understand, what are we really about? Where are we really going? And then make sure that we align with that. Because if we're talking about it over here and our actions are here, this incongruency, this fragmentation will be catastrophic. Because when a wave, whether it's COVID or whatever the next wave may be, whatever challenge in your sector hits, if you're not unified and your team is not unified on that, there's going to be some big challenges.
So, and just in terms of pragmatically into how this would be realized, because I think that most of us are tracking, okay, if you're the founder / CEO and you have your vision and your mission and your company values and you really believe in it, first of all, check yourself to make sure you really agree with it. The next natural step would be, okay, all your leaders in your organization at the highest levels, make sure that they're drinking the same Kool-Aid that you are. And I say that tongue in cheek, but like I mean it like in the best way possible. Is this going to be through like having it displayed, sending it out in a company memo, like a Jerry Maguire, or is this going to be, you're going to come back to it every single time? Like I remember there's an example of Jeff Bezos would always have an empty chair at all of their meetings, which was the customer. Like, what are some ways that have shown to work with your executives to selling them on the mission and the way that they should be marketing the mission internally, externally, and everywhere else?
Yeah, I think one way to really do it is say out of that narrative, out of that story, right? That this thing that we're constantly sharing. There are elements that you can find in that, and then bring it into, let's say, the day-to-day participation. So I've got a sticker right here that really embodies all of that. So we've got our motto that is listed across the board here, and then so you've got 3 little ice cream scoops, and those are actually rolls, because we're not a scoop, we're rolled ice cream. But in essence, so back to symbols, what this is a model from the Okinawans, so they're the longest living people in the world, and from some subjective measures, some researchers and scientists have went in there and basically concluded that they're some of the most fulfilled, happy people in the world. And in essence, what this is our mission, our vision of what we want. We want, for our dream is to see businesses filled with people who are passionate about the work that they do, leveraging that passion to serve others in a meaningful way that allows them to unlock their potential. So that's our mission statement at Roll 'Em Monkey, and it's embodied in a sticker here. So
yes,
what I've done is I've got these placed there at the shop, and they're even so this was the initial one, which is a little more just a Venn diagram, but then to get more creative with it, now a kid is going to grab this. And so what I have here is the focus in it. It says profession, which is the overlap of what we get paid for and what we're good at. The overlap of passion, what we're good at and what we love. The overlap of mission, what we love and how we serve others with it. And then the vocation, how we're serving and getting paid for that. And at the center is that little monkey, that little icon, that little symbol there. And then that banner across is create to inspire. Again, that mission is articulated at every level. And then on the side here, you have a little script, and it says the recipe to the fulfilled artisan. So really what this is a lead magnet for artisans that we can attract. But then also a kid can look at this, but then in a couple of years, this kid is going to be inspired to come work for us and participate because they receive such a great, inspiring experience, but they also want to now give back and serve in that capacity. And so I think, yes, you can have the grandiose, grand vision that really inspires people, but to then go and distill it down into elements that can be seen and participated with day to day are the ways that really allow for people to understand it, even at a non-conscious level, to see it, to participate in it, to embody it.
So you've taken all of these thoughts and you've been able to distill them into an icon, something like you said that can visually represent it and kind of encapsulate it. So that makes it easier for people to see what you're getting at. But I'm assuming that also then permeates itself downstream into how you do hiring, how you do team development, how you handle management, communication, how you handle your scorecards on what are the expectations, how you handle all those things. That all, so like you have all of your thoughts in your brain and your vision and your manifesto. You also have it distilled into an icon, some kind of visualization, but then also what's in between that is just day-to-day operations and the way that you handle your team and the way you attract the right artisans, et cetera, et cetera. Okay.
Yes.
So let me ask you then. So this actually reminds me of a presentation I had a couple of years ago from Savannah Bananas, where he said, you've got to love your customers, but in order to love your customers, you need to love your team members. And in order to love your team members, you need to love yourself. There is that kind of downstream roots into the trunk, into the branches and the vines and so on and so forth. So let's just say now you've done that with a staff. What are some pragmatic ways for the staff to market the mission? Because I think that when it comes to branding and great marketing, I feel like there's like three, for example, ways in which that a person can start to draw conclusions about a brand and interact with the brand. One would just be the general brand reputation. So when I see just the logo and the brand of Apple itself, I have certain things that come to mind. There's also the customer experience part, which is what I'm touching on right now. And then the other one might be like the communication. So when I see an advertisement or when I see packaging by Apple, it's trying to communicate certain things that it wants me to buy and agree with and influence me. But then there's other two facets. The most powerful example of branding is interacting with the brand directly as a paying customer. So how does your staff market the mission?
Really, again, I think it's going to come back to embodiment. I think they're simply going to be the fruit of the seed. So the seed is the leader's idea, the vision, the mission. And then if the employees should really embody that, and the way that they perform that day-to-day mission should be something that is understood at any level.
Yeah,
and I think that that's the deepest form of marketing, is not necessarily attempting to sell. That there is that, and we can talk about creative ways in which and how we do that. But I think it's more that when people see the authenticity of they love the work they're doing, that they love to serve, they love to create, to inspire, that they love they see inspiration, that they see the abundancy of the life, and those align deeply with our core values. So I would say, to make this applicable to maybe something that's completely outside of the domain of ice cream or creating to inspire, again, it would come down to asking, is the fruit being produced, and the fruit being at the level of your employees who are directly serving your customer at that value add level?
Right. Okay. I like that. So we've covered a lot of ground. I think that this episode may even raise more questions than it provides answers, which I think is good. I think that the people's mission is their own to define. What they want, how far they want to take their company is their own to define. What if they have a vision at all? That's for them to decide. And but if they're going to go down this road, if you want to create your own version of a Disney impact or an Apple impact, Chick-fil-A impact, or Rolling Monkey impact, you're going to need to go down this road. So what is the one thing listeners should do before year's end? So maybe I should be putting a tighter deadline on this, but in general, like, okay, 2023, this is the year of vision and values and actually seeing it work in real time to have the best brand because it represents something, a deeper mission. What's the one thing listeners should do before the end of 2023 when it comes to mission-driven marketing?
Yeah, I would say get clear on that mission. Truly ask yourself, what is that mission? And are you, as a leader, inspired around that? Because if you as a leader are inspired around that mission, it's going to inspire others, and it's going to trickle down to the value add level, or up to the value add level, however you want to look at it. And from there, put in elements that allow you to measure. Again, coming back to
Mhm.
what are you celebrating? What is your
Mhm.
team celebrating? You
Mhm.
can place those measures in there. What grabs your attention? What grabs your team's attention? How is your team articulating it? How is it being talked about? Is it connected at the highest level, and is it connected at the lowest level?
Mhm.
Look at these things, because what we're looking at is the architecture of culture. And the culture is the most valuable asset that you have in a company.
Yes. Yes. No, to your point, like I even thought of like three things just from what you said. Cause like, yeah, Garrett just told us like, well, you need to make sure you're locked in on exactly what your mission is, and you need to truly internalize it, believe it, act accordingly in word and deed, and then it's going to be contagious throughout the rest of the tree, like what I talked about earlier. You look at well, once again, I go back to Savannah Bananas, another brand that lots of people know and respect, and they've had a very kind of a lightning fast growth, and to now you see them on ESPN, and the entire world's getting to know them. But you look at their flywheel. The first part of their flywheel, which most people seek, like myself, looking for inspiration to be able to get more customers, brand ourselves, position ourselves in the market, it all starts with delivering great experiences. Their best selling marketing asset is the joy that they provide when you go to a game. And then going to the contagiousness of a leader who truly is drinking the mission, and then he can invite other people to drink, or she can. Walt Disney, I watched the documentary, the Imagineers documentary on Disney Plus, and it said that Walt Disney would just go up to his Imagineers and he would tell them to do something impossible. But the people who were recalling the way that they interacted with Walt, it'd be like he would tell you that he wanted you to do this, but he would so believe in you that you not only knew that you couldn't disappoint him, but you just believed that you could do it. Like he was the galvanizing in the way to just imagine and engineer beyond what you thought was possible, because he would just dream it and just assume that he had the right people who could actually make his dreams come to life. And then the final excerpt I was going to provide is saw an interview from a guy who used to work for Apple back in the day when Steve Jobs was there. And he said a couple colorful things. Basically said that Steve Jobs would have these people convinced that he was going to kill them if they didn't do like these excellent, amazing, impossible things that he was coming up for them. And then one other thing, he's like, well, we just did it because like we didn't know if he was bluffing or not. Like that's how convicted Steve Jobs was. He was kind of scary. Like it's the opposite side of the Walt Disney inspiration. But also they had said that Steve Jobs at times felt guilty because he didn't have a specific skill set competency where he did anything that resulted in, you know, the iPhone or the iPod or the Mac too. But he just had this there's this dream where he just knew what the customer wanted and what they would most appreciate before they even thought of it themselves. And then that was his superpowers. He could bring the vision to light, show people through iconography, and then just tell really skilled people like engineers, like, hey, now it's your job to create this. And he was just had this insane obsession with making that come to life. So I know I kind of shotgun a bunch of stuff in there, but that's kind of where my mind was going as you've taken us down the journey of mission marketing. I didn't know if you had any parting thoughts on that topic.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much we could spend all day talking about. Absolutely love this stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
I really do think it is at the depths of the core of just getting clear on that. And yeah, I love that you talked about the conviction, and we know faith will move mountains. And if that belief and that faith and that consistency is there, it becomes, to me, an easier walk through whatever valley you may face. Instead of chasing everything, it's the continuous building of value that allows people to then chase you. And then, yeah, so it definitely is a philosophy that I have, and it's based on, I believe, a sound theology. And we've got many great companies like Chick-fil-A that embody that. And yeah, that's my encouragement, is just, yeah, do the deep work and it'll be worth it.
Well, thank you, Garrett. This is definitely the road less traveled. So if this sounds like a lot of work and something you didn't expect to have to do, and it doesn't sound that appealing to you, that's because it is the road less traveled. That's the reason that there are very few Chick-fil-A's and Disney's, and there are lots of alternatives. So in passing, people might be hearing this conversation like, man, they might be thinking, hey, I need to try some ice cream, or I want to get inspired to create, or I want to learn more about this philosophy and mission behind the market and the brand. How can people learn more and connect with you, Garrett?
Yeah, so you can go to Rollin' Monkey. It's going to be therollinmonkey.com. Just you can do a Google search, find us there. And then we're on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Again, the Rollin' Monkey, that kind of unique name. It should be pretty easy to find through any search engine. And then also Garrett Clark, 2 R's, 2 T's, with LinkedIn if you're looking for more of the, let's say, higher abstract and or engineering science aspects of things, and as well as a couple of other ventures that we have going on. So at whatever level that you want to participate, feel free to reach out. I've got a Calendly link that you can book me, and we can talk through whatever it is you want to look at and get after it.
Perfect. Yeah, guys, I'd highly advise that you connect with Garrett, connect with Rolling Monkey. The pool is wide and deep, and there is a kid's entrance to the pool. But like you have learned just from this one episode, Garrett can go to some very deep sides of the pool. He can go to the 6 foot deep, and is happy to live there with you. So he's a great resource. Connect with him on social media. Check out Rolling Monkey. Garrett, thank you very much for joining Good Morning Market. All the best wishes to you this year.
Thank you, Phillips. Pleasure.